booties for black girl nerds.
Thanks
Hello.
so much for taking the time to speak with me. I
Hey,
appreciate
Jamie.
it.
Thank
Hello. So, Sebastian, I'll start with you. This film explores the radicalization of Donald Trump by Roy Cohn, and we see that shift in who Donald Trump becomes in this journey. And one detail that I noticed in your performance is when you emote the characteristics of Donald Trump in the beginning of the film, it's very subtle. But then through the latter part of the film, it becomes very distinct and it becomes the Donald Trump that we know today with the hand gestures and the voice. So was that always the intent to emote Donald Trump in that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at his own evolution into this character today, it's very that's what happens. I mean, he was much more contained, if you will, in the earlier times. He was much more. He spoke more eloquently, more specifically. He didn't seem to lean into sort of his tropes. I've always believed he's actually consciously worked very hard to create this brand, which is what you're receiving today. And the brand itself, like Coca-Cola or Apple or something, defies humanity. It's almost superfluous. It exists above it in a way, which is kind of interesting. But I also feel it's not tangible. It's not something that we as people can. And I think that's on purpose, in my humble opinion. But like in this film, it was important to find out the human being first and see where that ends up going. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you give a very nuanced performance of Donald Trump. It was very compelling to watch on screen. And for you, Jeremy, you just blew me away with Roy Cohn. I mean, I felt like I wanted to really dig in and learn more of what about Roy Cohn's history after
And
watching your performance.
and
Um, you
yeah,
played this.
it's a troubling history.
It is. I mean, this morally bankrupt person who we end up feeling some sympathy for in the film. And I wanted to know, was it challenging for you to approach the character in a sympathetic way in order to kind of get into the psyche of who he was?
No, because I think as an actor, or for me, I have to leave whatever judgments I have at the door and just check that, because your job is to approach them humanistically and kind of interrogate them humanistically, understand them as human beings, where they come from, what they need, what's their turmoil, what are they driven by, the way we understand anyone. And so I approach someone like Roy Cohn or Lee Harvey Oswald in the same way that I approach Reverend James Reeb or Kendall Roy. It's the same work. And it wasn't my intention to create sympathy, make you like him or not like him. I think I was just trying to embody what I understood to be his experience and his struggle, which, in a certain way is monstrous and in a certain way is tragic, depending on how
Indeed.
you're looking at it.
Indeed. Well, I'm so glad I got a chance to see this film. I saw it at Toronto. A friend of mine grabbed me at the last minute and was like, "Do you want to see this screening?" Because it wasn't really announced. It was sort of like a pop-up screening. And I'm so glad I had the opportunity to see your performances. Really incredible, compelling work. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to Black Girl
Thank
Nerds. I
you. It's
really
great to talk to you.
Thank you.
great to talk to you. Bye. Awesome. Well, Ali, I'll start with you. You know, this movie has been, I'm sure, uh, obviously you know this better than I do, but it's been challenging for you to get this out there, get the word out, from the distribution end to even the screenings end. I caught this movie at Toronto, and it was through a pop-up screening that my friend told me about at the last minute, so it wasn't really advertised. Um, why is this film getting so much pushback? And is it based on assumptions that people are trying to bury it, why it's not getting as much, visibility?
Look, this is really like a David versus Goliath
match in a way. You know, on one hand, we are, you know, truly independent, and with that truly independent, it might sound cool and sexy, but it also means like we don't have much, like, you know, financial support. We don't have a big studio. We don't have anyone to really back us up. And on the other hand, you're against, you know, all these corporate decisions of like, okay, this is too hot of a potato, we don't want to deal with it. This is too much of a reliability, we don't want to deal with it. And also you have the whole Trump universe and campaign and you know, his surrogates who are sort of one way or the other trying to kick at us. So yeah, I mean, it is an uphill battle, but at the same time, you know, it is a bit strange because I feel like a lot of this is based on presumptions from people who actually haven't seen the movie. They don't know about the movie. They don't just assume that it's partisan, it's a hit job, or some might assume that it's, you know, it's too much of a too flattering portrait of him. One thing I can say is, you know, people have been watching it. They told me they've been consistently surprised. And I think that's worth something. And if I wish something for people, it's that they come in with open mind, and you know, they obviously it is a polarizing character, but come in with open mind, see it, and decide for yourself what you think. And I promise you, you will be surprised.
I certainly was surprised. I learned a lot about both Donald Trump and Roy Cohn that I had no idea about. And I learned a lot about Ivana Trump. And for you, Maria, you know, Ivana has written about her experiences with Donald Trump in her memoir. Yeah. Did you read any of Ivana's books to get a sense of her thoughts and experiences with the Trump family?
I did. I mean, the first book that I read, I'm not sure about how is the right translation because I read it in Bulgarian. I found it in a Bulgarian antique shop. Amazing. And it was like a fictional book called Shine or Glum or something about this. You know, I was really surprised by the end of the book. On the last page, there's something like, if you want to count on somebody to do a hard job, you have to find a Czech person. You know, even Sigmund Freud has been born in Czechoslovakia. So that was the first book that I read about from her, which was a fictional book. Then I read the autobiography that she's written, and I was fascinated about her journey, to be honest. Like, I'm coming from a country that has been through communism. I haven't been, well, Bulgaria has been under communism. It's been post-communistic country. But I know what is it like. I know what this does to your brain, like a mindset. And if you want to succeed, if you want to have the opportunity to build a better life, you have to count on either sports or music. In my situation, it was music. For her, it's been between swimming or skiing. And she did it. She's been a competitive ski racer. That took her to Canada, and from Canada she had to go to do the Summer Olympics. And that one night that she went to New York for the first time, she met him, and that changed her life in a lot of ways.
This is such a brilliant film. It's one of my favorite films that I screened at the Toronto Film Festival this year. Congratulations to you both. You guys are in the awards conversation. I'm hearing Apprentice being brought up. So thank you so much for taking the time to speak to Black Girl Nerds. I really appreciate the conversation.
Thank you. You got it.
Better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds. Better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds.